Tale of an Orphan, Part 5. Fatima looked around, her eyes moving slowly over the unfamiliar surroundings. For some reasons, she felt uncomfortable. She had always known about that school, not just her, everyone around did, but she had never stepped inside it. Something about the place had always felt wrong to her, something her spirit could not accept. Even when other guests spoke about it, about the money they made, the opportunities they found here, Fatima had never been tempted until now, standing beside Rashida. That uneasiness returned, stronger than before. It sat heavily in her chest, warning her. But she didn't leave. She couldn't. She needed to survive. She needed to make money, to go back to school, to pay her fees, to earn something of her own, maybe even help her younger brother. Because she knew one thing clearly, if she stopped helping Salamatu to earn money, everything would change. Her well-being, Farouk's care, everything would be taken away. She swallowed hard and turned to Rashida. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked, her voice slightly trembling, looking around fearfully. Rashida folded her arms after placing a small bucket down. "I can't just tell you what to do without explaining things to you," she said calmly. "You need to understand everything first." Fatima frowned. "Understand what?" "I will be the one introducing you," Rashida continued. "You are not the first girl I've brought here. You are the third, so listen carefully." Something in her tone made Fatima uncomfortable. They were age mates. Why was she speaking to her like she was her boss? "What exactly do you want me to do?" Fatima asked, her voice rising slightly. "Do you want me to sell your eggs? How much do you even make from that? And how will you pay me from the little you are selling?" Rashida rolled her eyes at East. "Who is talking about eggs?" She snapped and stepped closer. Listening properly, she lifted the small bucket slightly. "This," she said, "is just a cover. Sometimes I don't even sell anything all day, and it doesn't matter." Fatima's brows slowly tightened. Rashida's voice dropped. "What we do here is different. We are not selling anything." Fatima's heart began to beat faster. She could already deduce what she was trying to say. "You see this place?" Rashida continued, glancing around. "People think it's just a school or a playground." She paused. "But it's not. So many things happen here. So many things your tiny brain can never think of." Fatima felt a chill run through her. "The boys, the men, they all come here," Rashida said carefully, "and they look for girls, young girls like us." Fatima breathed cut. She could already tell what she wanted to say, but hearing everything coming out of her mouth still scared her to the bone. Rashida looked directly at her. "They will approach you," she said. "They will try to get your attention. What happens next depends on you." Fatima took a small step back. "No," she whispered, shaking her head slightly. "No, I can't. I don't want to." "You said you want money," Rashida cut in sharply. "You said you want to go back to school." Her voice softened, but only slightly. "This is how it's done. You need to do something to earn money." Fatima stood frozen. Her mind was spinning. This was not what she expected at first. Not at all. She thought she would introduce her to someone who she may likely hug for and still earn money. Not everything she was saying. Everything in her was telling her to run. But another voice, quieter, heavier, kept whispering, "What choice do you have? Life is about give and take," Rashida continued, breaking into her thoughts, her voice steady, almost convincing. "If you want something, you have to give something in return." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "And in your case, what you are giving is small compared to what you will gain." Fatima said nothing. She was only listening. "You want to go back to school, don't you?" Rashida asked. "You want to take care of your brother? You want to stop depending on Salamatu?" Her eyes hardened slightly. "Or do you want to keep living like this, serving her for the rest of your life?" Fatima's throat tightened, but she did not answer. She was only listening and she did not know what to say to her. "You are already 40 for goodness sake," Rashida went on. "Very soon you will be 15. Is this how you want your life to remain?" She paused, then added more calmly. "I'm not forcing you. I would never do that. But think about it carefully. Think about your life, about your future, about your dream." Fatima looked down at herself. If I go back home, she murmured, I may not even survive the punishment waiting for me. Exactly, Rashida said quickly. You need something of your own. The moment you become financially independent, nobody will talk down on you again. Not Salamatu, not even Halima. She tilted her head and went on. Money changes everything because money gives power and voice. Fatima hesitated, then said quietly, but what would they even want from me? I don't have anything. Her voice straight off in embarrassment. Rashida waved it off. That is not your concern. With time, you will grow. You will become what they want. Fatima heart pounded. I told you already, Rashida continued. How much you will earn depends on you. Just remember that you will give me my percentage. Rashida said, folding her arms. So what do you think? Are you in? Fatima opened her mouth to speak. She wanted to agree. She wanted to say yes. But before a single word came out, thud! A small ball came flying from nowhere and struck her hard on the head. She gasped and collapsed to the ground. For a moment, everything spun, and the world went silent. Rashida turned sharply towards the direction the ball came from, and then she saw him. It was Farzan. He stood just a few steps away from them. He stood tall and composed, different from the others. She had seen him before. He came to play football and always left without speaking to anyone. But now, he was looking in their direction. For the first time, Rashida's heart skipped. Could he be? Her thoughts started running wild. Farzan didn't even glance at her. His attention was on Fatima. He already knew her, and she had some effect he could not yet name or understand on him. With everything he just overheard, he needed to act. He needed to do something to stop her from treading on that path, the path that would surely ruin her. But why did she need money? Why is she so desperate to have it? He pondered. As he walked closer, he looked calmed and unhurried. Fatima lay on the ground, her head aching, her nose slightly bleeding. She blinked, trying to steady herself, and then she saw him, Kabir friends, that Bature. Something about him stirred a strange feeling in her chest, uneasy, sharp, almost like fear, mixed with something she couldn't name. What else can she expect from someone who is a friend with Kabir? But why will he hurt her when she had never done anything to him? Well, she had never done anything to Kabir, who was always against her and would always embarrass her anytime they crossed paths. Him doing the same shouldn't shock her. But Kabir has never hurt her physically. He will only hurt her with his words. This one, that is felt like a fried akara, had hurt her without even trying. Farzan stopped in front of her and looked down. I'm sorry, he said flatly. I was playing ball. It hit you. There was no real apology in his voice, just words without tinge of emotion. Then his expression hardened slightly. You shouldn't be here, he added softly but threateningly. Leave. When Fatima looked into Farzan's eye, fear settled deep in her heart. She felt it instantly. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't harsh, but there was something in his soft voice, something she could not explain but felt dangerous. She couldn't hold his gaze. It felt heavy, almost suffocating. Her chest tightened and her breath became uneven. She struggled to stand, then quickly stepped back. She was scared, truly scared of him. All she wanted at that moment was to get away from him, from the fair-skinned stranger who looked like a handsome villain out of a foreign film, yet carried something far more unsettling. With trembling body, she turned to leave. Wait, Farzan first stopped her instantly. Fatima paused. She did not have the courage to turn back and face him. Slowly, Farzan walked towards her. When he got close, he bent slightly to her level and spoke in a low voice meant only for her. If I ever see you here again, he said quietly, or anywhere that will ruin your life, he paused, I will deal with you in a way you will live to remember. His tone remained calm, but the meaning behind it was sharp and unmistakable. Leave this place, he added, and don't ever come back. Fatima's body trembled, her legs weakened, and for a moment she nearly collapsed again. Farzan straightened up and looked at her saying nothing more. That silence was even more frightening. Without wasting another second, Fatima turned and ran. She ran out of the school, out of the field, out of everything that had almost pulled her in. Her heart pounded wildly in her chest. She didn't stop. She didn't turn back. At that moment, one thing became clear to her. No matter what waited for her at home, no matter the punishment, it was better than this. Much better. She would rather face Salamatu. She would rather endure the pain she already knew than step into something she did not understand. As she ran, she made a silent vow to herself. She would never return to that place again or go anywhere close to the dangerous man. Never. Faisal stood still, watching as Fatima ran out of the school compound. He let out a quiet breath as relief washed over him. He was glad he had overheard their conversation, glad he had gone to that particular spot to make a call, glad she hadn't gone too far yet. She was still untouched by that life, still innocent, still unaware of how deep that path could go. You could tell from everything she said, Fatima wasn't like the others. She hadn't come there out of desire. She had come out of desperation to have an education. That was all she wanted, to go to school, to have a future, and to be able to care for her brother. But she had no means. And because of that, she had almost been dragged into something that would destroy her completely. Farzan joined Titan slightly. Why would anyone choose that life? He knew she was about to say yes, but he was able to quickly stop her. His gaze dropped briefly, helping her would not be difficult. Money was not his problem. Even though he was a student, he has more than enough. His father was worthy, a respected businessman, known across Nigeria and even beyond. His mother took him from a rich family in India. They all threw money at him, taking it to give him what they could not give him. If it come down to money, he could easily sponsor her education, but that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was how he would approach her, how he would help her without scaring her away. After what just happened, Fatima did not stop running until she reached the front of their house. She bent forward, placing both hands on her knees, struggling to catch her breath. Her chest rose and fell rapidly as sweat gathered on her forehead. After a few minutes, she slowly straightened up. Instinctively, she turned back. Her eyes scanned the road behind her, anxious, afraid that the young fierce man had followed her. But there was no one. She let out a quiet sigh of relief. Just as she was about to step into the house, she froze. Her foot hung mid-air. Then slowly, she stepped back. Everything that had happened that day came rushing back to her. From the moment she left to hug the Akamu, to seeing her brother crying, to giving him part of the money, then returning home, only to be sent back out again to go and find the supposed missing money, then using more of the money to buy food. Her heart sank. Out of the 8,500 naira she was supposed to have, only 3,000 remained. She had made everything worse, much worse. Fatima closed her eyes, and then another realization hit her. She hadn't done her chaos. The laundry was still there. The plates she left in the morning were still unwashed. She was sure that everything would be waiting for her, exactly how she left them. She opened her eyes slowly as a thought crossed her mind. Before Salamatu punishes her, she wants all the chores to be done, and she'll make sure she finishes all her work before eating or going to bed. Maybe, just maybe, the punishment will be delayed. Even if it was only a day, that little hope was enough. Fatima took a deep breath, then another. She straightened her shoulders, gathered what little courage she had left, and stepped forward into the house. Immediately she stepped inside. Her eyes met Salamatu's, and her heart almost slipped out of her mouth. She almost ran back, but when she remembered she had nowhere to go, she kept her calm and walked inside. The woman was by the kitchen, stirring a pot, but her sharp gaze fixed on Fatima the moment she entered. Fatima walked slowly toward her. "Mama, good evening," she said softly. The word "Mama" felt strange on her tongue. She hardly ever called her that. She would only call her that when she had no choice. Salamatu let out a short, mocking laugh. "Since when did I become your mother?" she said. "I thought you hated calling me that." "Don't bother calling me that. I know the number of children I gave birth to." she said, putting the pot of soup down. And I, Salamatu, can never be a mother to someone like you. I rebuke it. Allah is so again. Fatima said nothing. She simply stood there, her hands clenched, her head slightly bowed. Salamatu's expression hardened. Where you go is not my business. I hope you came back with my money. Fatima swallowed hard. She tried to articulate her words. Ah, I was only able to bring 3,000 naira. Salamatu turned fully to face her. Three what? 3,000 naira? She repeated slowly. Her voice rose. Out of 10,000, you came back with just 3,000. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Fatima quickly tried to explain. Mama, I said don't call me that. I am not your mother, she cut her off, voice laced with anger. Fatima swallowed hard and continued. The Akama had some remaining. The remaining was worth 1,500 naira. So, Salamatu cut in sharply. Who is going to take that shortage? It's your fault for not selling everything. She stood up and stepped closer to her. And out of the 10,000 you brought back 3,000. Her eyes burned with anger. What are you trying to prove, Fatima? You left this house early this morning, and this is what you returned with. Fatima's lips trembled, but no words came out. Are you trying to reel me? Salamatu continued. It is your own way of showing that you've grown. She shook her head in frustration. I don't care how you do it, but you will bring back my money. Until my money is complete, you will not eat in this house. She pointed a finger at Fatima. I'm giving you from now until day after tomorrow. I must see my money complete. Otherwise, your brother will join you in the punishment. Fatima's chest tightened. I will not sit back and watch you ruin me while your brother still benefits from it directly. Fatima lowered her head. Inwardly, she wished she hadn't returned the 3,000 naira. And as for this house, Salamatu went on, her tone turning even colder. Everything you left undone before you went out to go and do your nonsense. Go and finish it now. She gestured around. The place you left in the morning are still there. The clothes are piling up. Do you think anyone here is your servant? Fatima remained silent, her head lowered. You wash Halima's and Ibrahim's school uniform now. Salamatu added, they are going to school tomorrow. She scoffed. What kind of child are you becoming? Tell me, how are you going to be useful to anyone in this house with this your new cultivated habit? Her words hung heavily in the air. Fatima stood there, quietly absorbing every single one of them. Fatima did not waste time. She went straight to the well, fetched water, and filled all the drums in the house. Her arms ached, but she didn't stop. After that, she gathered all the dirty plates and began washing them. No matter how many they were, Fatima was used to it. In less than an hour, she was done. She raised them neatly and arranged them where they belonged. Then she moved on to the clothes. They were a heap waiting for her. Some were heavily stained, but she said nothing. She simply sat down and began washing them one after the other, her hands moving mechanically. By the time the sun began to set, she was still at it, and the clothes were still looking untouched. It was around 6 in the evening when Rashida walked into the compound. Instead of going inside their room like she would usually do, she walked straight toward Fatima. Fatima saw her, but she chose to ignore her. The fear from earlier still lingered in her heart. The fair man's voice, his grey eyes, the warning he gave her, it kept replaying in her mind. She had never been that afraid before. It felt as if it could truly harm her, or even do worse. Rashida dragged a small stool and sat in front of her. Fatima, she called. Fatima only lifted her head quickly, then looked back, down at the clothes she was washing. How do you know him? Rashida asked straightforwardly. Fatima paused. No, who? That man, Rashida said. The one who sent you away earlier. Everyone calls him FMB. FMB? Fatima repeated. Who is that? Rashida frowned slightly. I'm talking about him. Daba Ture. Don't pretend. I know you know him. Fatima shook her head slowly. I don't really know him, she said. He's just Kabir's friend. Kabir? Rashida leaned forward. Which Kabir? Kabir from Alhaji Hassan's house, Fatima replied. Oh. Rashida leaned back, understanding dawning on her face. So that's how That's how I got to know him, Fatima continued softly. I don't even know him like that. You know how Kabir treats me. He doesn't like me. Maybe that's why his friend also spoke to me like that. Rashida scoffed lightly. You shouldn't take what he says seriously, she said, trying to stay calm. If he doesn't want to see you there, we can go somewhere else. Fatima had stopped moving. What if he sees me again? She asked, her voice low. What if he finds out? She shook her head quickly. Rashida, please leave me alone. I don't want to do what you're doing. I don't want to complicate my life. Her voice trembled. I'm scared. Scared of the first man. She looked up now, her eyes filled with fear. He said he would deal with me in a way I will never forget. What if he really does it? What if something happens to me? She swallowed hard. If something happened to me, how would Farouk cope? I would rather slave around for Salamatu. Even if Salamatu punishes me, at least I know what I'm facing. Fatima lowered her gaze again. I don't want that life, please. Just leave me alone. Let me be. Rashida went quiet for a moment. She was also scared, but the love of money overpowered the fear in her heart. Then softly she asked, what about your school? Fatima's heart slowed down again. I don't care anymore, she said softly. Instead of ruining my life at this age, I would rather leave school. She sighed. If Allah wants me to go to school and have education, I will go. And if He doesn't, no matter what I do, it won't happen. Her voice became firmer. I've made up my mind. I'm not going to school again. I will not ruin myself. Rashida watched her carefully, but inside, her thoughts were different. It wasn't just about helping Fatima, it was about her personal gain. When she had first brought Fatima to that place, someone had noticed, someone important, someone who had already shown interest, and that person had given Rashida money to bring Fatima to him. That was why she was still here, still trying, still pushing. She leaned forward slightly. Think about it again, she said softly. Think about your life. Think about your brother. There's nothing to think about, Fatima said firmly. She didn't even look up this time. I've thought about everything. I don't want that life. I don't want to be like you. Her voice was steady now. Let me be the way I am. Let me continue managing what I have, even if it is hard. I don't want to go that way. She picked up another cloth and continued washing. I will face whatever comes, she added quietly. But not that part. Rashida leaned forward, her eyes sharp. Don't say that yet, she said. Fatima didn't respond. Rashida lowered her voice. When I took you to that place earlier, someone saw you. Fatima paused a little. He has interest in you, Rashida continued, and not just anybody. He is someone with money. Fatima stopped completely. Rashida watched her reaction slowly. He gave me 10,000 naira just for bringing you there. Imagine what you will get if you go and see him. Rashida pressed. This is not small money, Fatima. This can change your life. Fatima's mind began to race. 10,000 naira. That money alone could solve her problem. She could enroll herself in a government school, buy her school uniform, and even take care of Farouk. Maybe, just maybe, things would become easier. For a moment, the thought settled in her heart, tempting, heavy. But then, for his dark face flashed in her mind. His grey eyes, his voice, the warning. Fatima blinked, as if snapping out of something. She lifted her head and looked straight at Rashida. Please stop, she said. Her voice was firm again. I'm not going to do it. Rashida frowned. She did not expect to hear that. Whoever he is, you can go to him yourself, Fatima continued. Don't involve me. I'm not interested. Just then, a voice came from behind them. So this is what you two are discussing. They both turned. Salamatu stood there, watching them, with a satisfying smile on her lips. It was clear she had been listening to them. Fatima froze. She expected shouting, a slap, harsh word, but instead, Salamatu laughed. A dry, cold laugh. Go ahead, she said dismissively. I don't care what you do with your lives. If you like sleep with all the men in this world, I don't care. Fatima's eyes widened. However you choose to live, that's the problem, Salamatu continued. Just don't drag me or my children into it. She looked directly at Fatima. You can sleep with all the men, I don't care. Just make sure you bring back my 10,000 naira. Silence fell. Then she turned and walked away as if nothing had happened. Fatima and Rashida sat there, stunned.
They could not say a word for a while. They could not believe what they had just heard. Rashida was the first to recover. "You see," she said quickly. "Do you see what I've been telling you?" Fatima said nothing. Her heart was heavy, confused, torn. After a long moment, she slowly raised her head and pointed slightly at Rashida. "That is exactly why I won't do it," she said. Her voice was low but firm. "Following that path means I might destroy my life completely." She shook her head. "I am not interested." She picked up the clothes again. "Please, Rashida, leave me out of it. I don't want to do it. Let me be."
This will be the end of today's episode. Let's meet again for another interesting one. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, to drop your comment, and subscribe to our channel. I remain your humble host, Ahmad. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.